What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to talk about cranking in grass lakes. We're gonna go underwater, we're gonna hit some new spots, but what we got here is some water clarity like you wouldn't believe. We're gonna get some great underwater shots, maybe catch a couple bass, and talk about the system I use for cranking, throwing crankbaits in grass lakes. We'll see you out there. Over there, we've got a nice shelf right here. We're going to start out with this 5XD. It's in the summer, especially this time of year, and it really allows you to be a... All right, guys, let's talk about system cranking. So we're out here, we've got a point over there, we've got a nice shelf right here. We're going to start out with this 5XD that's going to hit about 14, 15 feet because that's where the grass line is. So when I'm cranking in the summer, I want to really make sure that I'm throwing the right bait and the right depth level. And I'm going to put a whole bunch of baits on the screen here that I would do this, but I start deep when I start cranking, right? Especially in the summer, especially this time of year, we want to start deep. And I always like to start deep because it eliminates water before I move shallow. Most of the time, fish tend to hang in a certain depth range. So right here, we see that I just pulled a whole bunch of weeds. And that's because I'm in, 9, 10 foot of water, and I'm cranking this bait out to where that drop zone is. This is gonna hit 14, 15 feet, right? So what I wanna do here is I wanna work this outer point first. As I'm throwing this 5XD, what I'm looking for are schools of fish that are out here deep, maybe suspended, but they're over top of the grass. The 5XD, the 10XD are baits that are really going to excel this time of the year in deeper water in those situations. Now, all of the crankbaits that I throw, got one hooked up. Oh, whatever it was, I lost. Shoot. Those XD style crankbaits are really going to excel out on your deeper points. You got your 10XD, your 5XD, right? Your tactical bass and DD22s. You got all of those different crankbaits that are built different for out deep. And what I'm trying to do is really target above that grass edge. I know the grass out here, we're in 14, 15 feet of water. That grass edge is in about 10 foot. So what I'm doing is I'm running this crankbait next to that grass edge, right? And what I'm trying to find are these active, deeper fish. And as we work forwards, we're gonna pick up different crankbaits. Crankbait, there's not all one size catch all crankbait, right? Crankbaits are all different things that do different jobs. Think of them.
So guys, let's talk about different deep crankbait options. Here's your tactical DD crankbait. As you can see, I've slowed down the video here. It's got a nice tight wobble. It's a cold water crank or a speed crank. It's designed to have that nice head wobble, but it's a more subtle crankbait. As you can see here in this, it's gonna dig up that bottom and do stuff, but it's got that nice tight wobble that you want in cold water. In comparison, here is your Strike King 10XD, which is your standard summertime bait. It's got a bigger, wider, aggressive wobble. So you gotta try different things at different times. Sometimes fish want that aggressive, sometimes they don't.
So now that we're into this about 10, 12 foot range, I'm gonna pick up this DT6 because I know that the weeds come up to a certain level. The DT6, in my opinion, is one of the best crankbaits ever made, right? But I know that I can keep this lure up on top of those weeds and still have that bite rolling. So it's system cranking, right? I know that the DT6 is gonna tip the tops of the weeds. I know it's gonna give me a good look out of these fish, but it's still meaning I'm getting the best bang for my buck out of this lure. And what I'm gonna do is work my way up the point until the DT6 becomes ineffective because of the cover that we're fishing, right? All of my cranking is done on 10 to 12 pound fluorocarbon all the time. It's just standard. All of my cranking rods are that parabolic action. They're that glass feel, that delay, because when a treble hook bait is on, you really want to be able to have that delay in the hook set so the fish can really eat it. Plus, those fish are really working on it, right? They are fighting the rod and they don't have leverage over the bait. So that's really important in cranking, right? Here we're throwing this DT6 as we're working up this incline here. I know that there's a decent little shelf over there that I'm throwing in probably 7-8 foot of water. The weeds aren't too bad on this lake. We got a lot of water clarity, but what I'm doing is I'm trying to eliminate water the best that I can here as I'm throwing that bait. So what I'm talking about, guys, when we're talking about these, see these weed edges right here? See the fish sitting above the weed edges and through there? That's 9 foot. At 6 feet right here, I'm bringing this across the top of them. So I'm skimming the top of those weeds with this crankbait. If it gets caught so much, you pop it right out. But that's really what we're looking for right here. That's what we want to be targeting when we're throwing a DT6. That is textbook right there. Good stuff. All right, guys, so let's talk about crankbait zones. Right here, we had that deep shelf. We were throwing that deep diving bait. Over here, we had that mid depth where we were throwing that DT6. Now we're getting into the shallow flat over here. We want to be throwing that square bill, right? The weeds are coming up and topping out in a foot or two of water. This square bill is going to come through there actually really good and allow me to target still with the crankbait, still being efficient, just a different column of water, right? So we really want to focus on popping that square bill off of the cover. If it gets stuck, let it pause for a second, then bring it back up. Then you can just keep fishing that bait, right? This allows you to really be effective in your cranking. As you see right here, we're coming through a ton of weeds, a ton of cover, but we're still covering that water effectively with a crankbait. This time of the year, the crankbait can be a deadly thing if you fish it correctly, right? You really want to focus on pulling it through that cover, popping it out, really worming that crankbait through, getting that effective wobble on it, right? Great lure to throw in the summertime, especially on grass lakes where people don't normally fish crankbaits, right? Most guys that are gonna target this area right here are not throwing a crankbait. So guys, one of my favorite ways to fish crankbaits in the summer is on these deeper sections of dock. If you can find a section of lake that has deeper docks on it, so this is a seawall and it drops out here, and we're in about 15-16 foot of water right here, that weed edge is coming down, and what it allows me to do is really focus on that drop in the weeds, and the fish run up and down this edge. I usually catch a lot of fish on crankbaits in this clear water on these weed edges because everybody throws a worm, everybody throws a jig, not everybody throws a crankbait. There's also a lot of cover on this break that you can target with a crankbait really well, right? And you can cover water really effectively with that crank. Water is 80 degrees. You cannot run that crankbait fast enough. You're looking for a reaction bite here. And what I'm doing is I'm fishing this whole weed edge right here. And what I'm doing is really being effective and covering a deeper section of water right here. You'll get the occasional weed, but that's no problem. You just pop it right off there, get your next cast in. And it really allows you to be effective in covering water and hitting different sections of that lake, right? Where you can find a bite. Now, once I find a bite with a crankbait, I'm gonna slow down and pick that area apart because there'll be more fish there, right? But this is a really effective way to target this group of bass that don't normally get targeted. Hey guys, hope you learned something today. Hope you enjoyed looking at baits underwater, looking at the various things that we throw. System cranking can be a great thing, right? Shallow to deep or deep to shallow. Make sure you pick out your baits, your actions accordingly. Hopefully you guys learned something. Hopefully you let us know in the comment section what you liked. If you want us to do more of these underwater videos, just let us know. We enjoy doing this content for you guys. We want to make it applicable to your lives. Let us know what we can do better, how we can do things that interest you. Thanks for hanging out with us today. We'll see you next time.